Evening from Nairobi. This is Larry Madowo for NTV Kenya here in Nairobi. We're excited today to have the megastar, one of the biggest artists on the planet, period. Akon is here. I like to say he's one of the biggest music exports from Africa into the rest of the world, and we're so glad to have him here. How are you doing, sir?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Very, very good. So glad to see you, man.
That's good. That's good.
There's so many people on this hangout also who are excited to have you here with us. From Jerry Wangari, who's a blogger and a Kenyan poet, Charles Wanjohi, the Airtel marketing director here in Kenya, the drama queen, one of the biggest artists in the country in Kenya. Jerry Mushai is one of the, so far, she's one of the winners of the Airtel Trace Music Stars competition. And we also have Philip Mwaniki, who's an editor here. I want to start with the lady because Jerry Mushai, this was your dream to speak to Akon, and here he is right now, live. What are you going to ask him?
Really?
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm just, I'm very happy that you brought this contest to this part of the world, because there are a lot of shy singers who want to, get heard, but are too scared to go on stage. So this is always a good way in.
Absolutely.
So yeah, what inspired you to do this?
Well, I mean, it's actually exactly what you said. It's a lot of hidden talent. They still in a position where they're developing their you could say confidence. So this kind of gives you a way to be able to slowly, kind of taking baby steps into the main stage. So
Yeah.
ultimately, starting mobile, I think, was the best way to get this thing started.
Okay. Is this the way you started?
No, actually, absolutely not. I was pushed in, like I was literally pushed on stage and say, do it. So I didn't have, I didn't take the baby steps.
Right.
I'm glad you were pushed in, because look at what extraordinary journey this has been.
No, it's been an amazing journey for sure, man. It's been really exciting.
Excellent. Also with us in Jerry Wangari, a blogger who covers a lot of music. You were speaking to just the other day, Talib Kweli, and here you are speaking to Akon. Lots of questions, I'm sure, in your mind.
Yes, I do, and I was thinking we might be fighting for the questions with you, because I know you're the moderator, but I have a lot of questions for Akon, and I'm hoping that Larry, you'll give me some time to ask Akon some questions. Akon, I'm really excited to see you,
Thank you.
I have some questions for you, and I'm hoping that Larry will give me some time to.
Go ahead, Larry.
All right, so the first one off is and this has been really big, seeing that you were performing in the DRC Congo recently, and there was this whole miscommunication about you performing in a bubble.
Yeah.
and what I came to learn is that you have done this before, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on why there was such a miscommunication regarding your performance in DRC Congo, and that you were escaping the Ebola, you were afraid about the Ebola virus, yet most people didn't know that you had performed in 2010, you performed in Australia as well as in Dubai the same way. So maybe if you could talk about that a bit.
No, absolutely. Of course, that's been a part of my show for the last 5 years, way before Ebola even existed. But it goes right back to Africa itself. Like, we have to be in a position, and you being a blog is very important, because it's a responsibility for you as well, is that we have to brand our own country. Like, we have to brand it, because if we allow the foreigners to brand Africa, this is the kind of stuff that comes out, nothing but negative feed, negative information, and what it does, it creates and generates fear. So it's so much in Africa that's available, and so much for Africa to expand and grow, but if the right information isn't coming out about Africa, then of course it's going to take a lot more time for people to be comfortable with coming into Africa to invest and to develop and things of that nature. So we have to shape our own story. It's very, very important, so even, I mean, no matter where you go in the world, there's going to be issues where there'll be negative press and there'll be positive press. But if you look at how U.S. has, positioned themselves from the media standpoint, it's so much that happens in the U.S. is negative, but no one would never know it unless you're in America. They found out how, literally, they've really learned how to brand and, themselves. So Africa, we have to be a part of the new branding, and it's our generation that's going to have to do it.
All right. Now, because we are here courtesy of Airtel and the Airtel.
Interrupt real quick here. You notice a bit of commotion on my window is because we're just going to televise this. We're going on the air in about 30 seconds. So if there's a bit of commotion, it's because that was the pre-show. We're going to televise this now. And if you bear with me for just about 30 seconds, we'll be live on NTV in a moment.
Larry, okay. And somebody tell Larry this is not Philip Monek, it's John Mushiri.
I noticed that. I was about to ask
just
Philip.
One of Africa's greatest musical exports, the megastar Akon, is live here shortly. Hookid will be here to perform Delilah live. The internet erupts over Njokishege again. Let's all just calm, okay? Everybody's quite ignorant of friend. Hello everybody, I'm Larry Madowo. We have a great show coming up in this first part of the show. Akon is going to be here. I think he's already here. 1 second, there he is, live on the screen. You'll see him. I'm not going to give you the shot in a moment because it's a big show, and when we say we're going to have Akon live, we're going to give you Akon. Just give you that shot anyway because here he is already hanging out with some of us. You get to speak to him in just a moment, asking me questions. The hashtag, by the way, is Akon live. So that's what's going to happen. But before that, I need to do this. And that is send me your black pictures, or your white pictures, or your black and white pictures. I want to see them right now. And send them through to at the trend live at Larry Madowo NTV Kenya. And we'll give some of you the Libya hunters. Libya's doing out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hunters. It's ridiculous. We do this every week. So here's the thing. Do not inbox me. Put them out publicly. You must use the hashtag black and white challenge. And must be out there. I don't want a black and white picture. I want it to be wearing black, or wearing black, white, or wearing black. Okay, you're not the winner at the end of this show. But in the meantime, I am excited to have this man come on the show, and I'm just going to go back and intrude into the conversation because this Google Class Hangout is already on air. As you know, Airtel is running the Trace Music Star competition, and somebody gets a chance to just record, and maybe if you put in your way to New York to hang out with Akon, maybe get that song recorded. And Akon is right now hanging out on the Google Class, exclusive right now to NTV and the Trend. And there are several people who are out there right now. There are bloggers, there are journalists, there's a lucky winner who got a chance to hang out with Akon. And Akon himself is here hanging out from this afternoon. And I want to bring him in right now and say, listen Akon, there are lots of people in this country who are excited to have you in as part of this competition, but also waiting for you to come to Kenya. So the obvious question is, when are you coming to Kenya next?
Well, right now we're working on scheduling something for December of the end of this year. So that's very, very soon. Yes, we're actually in discussions as we speak about making it for December. So.
You want to give us more details because that sounds interesting.
Yeah. So we see what happens, man. We're working on it. We're really trying to make it work.
Okay, we'll have to wait and see for that. I was going to ask you this question because we were talking about it on my show not too long ago, about that incident of you in DRC, and Jerry was asking you about this earlier. Everybody, the reporting that came out of it, especially the American media, that you were performing in a battle because of Ebola, and you're trying to avoid Ebola. Is that what happened?
Yeah, of course. Unfortunately, some people that jumped out didn't really do their research before they put the press out. Not realizing that I've been a part of my show for the last 5 years, way before Ebola existed. And I was explaining to them that it goes back to us. Our generation have to rebrand Africa. We have to shape our own story and put it out there. And we also have to be counter-constructive when there's negative, feedback about Africa. We have to be in a position to correct that. Especially with you, as an anchor, and we have, of course, a couple of members on this panel that's, bloggers and so on and so forth. It's our responsibility that put that positive information out about Africa, so that way people can get a better sense of the facts about Africa and want to come in to invest and actually be a part of the lifestyle here in the continent.
Absolutely. Mudomi the drama queen is here, one of the biggest artists in the country. Mudomi, I'm sure you must have a question for Akon.
Well, hi Akon.
Hey, how are you?
Hangout. I'm cool, bro. Chilling. I think mine is not so much a question as much as just my takeout as an artist. I feel that it's really a fortunate position for the people who will be in this competition and who will actually win this competition, because then they get to work with you. They get to work in a system where the system actually works, and that maybe there's a real shot here to be able to have another African international superstar. Absolutely. And I think that maybe And I think you could be completely instrumental for this, because I'm sure, as you know, the system here doesn't work very well. It's very make it up along as you go. And so for somebody to be doing, an apprenticeship or a mentorship under you, there's a lot of hope, expectation. There's a lot of things that you could make happen there, really, and, sort of create an example for this one person. So I guess my question, if I have one, is, are you looking forward to that? Can this be something useful for the continent? Will this just be one of those situations where an artist wins a great competition and nothing really happens after that?
Well, that's actually a very good question. That's a very good question, actually, because you're right. In most circumstances, that's always the outcome. Nothing really never happens of it. Fortunately, the reason why we're doing this is to be able to showcase Africa's talent. Now, every artist has their own destiny. You never really know where they're going to end up. All we can do is provide a platform for them to be able to expose their talent to the rest of the world, and just hope that the rest of the world, enjoys what they see and want to support it for the rest of their career. One thing Africa does lack is the infrastructure, and that's the reason why it's so hard to break out of Africa. And then the biggest reason is language barriers. So if you don't speak English, and English is really the center stone for music. English-speaking songs normally work everywhere in the world because there's always going to be someone that speaks English somewhere. But when you speak in an African dialect, or you speak in maybe French, for instance, where everyone in the world don't speak, it's harder for the music to expand to a bigger realm. So you have to be very creative, be more original than anything, and then create something that the rest of the world can grasp to, or be in a position where they feel like they can relate to it. It just makes it a lot easier. But what we're going to do is create that platform, create an artist development center as well that artists will go through, so that way they know all the steps that it takes to get to the final stage.
All right, and that's an interesting one, because in Kenya we see a lot of West African music, specifically Nigerian music, infiltrating here. But our Kenyan artists don't make it on the international stage. And John Mushiri, who covers music a lot, this is a concern. Why don't we see another African artist on the same stage as Akon? I wonder what your question for him is.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of variables, relating to that. A lot of artists breaking out of Africa, they don't have the vehicle to break outside of Africa. Fortunately, I had the vehicle. Being in the U.S. and being signed to Universal Music, I had a vehicle that all the other major artists had as well. So it just goes to show, if you put the artists in the right platform and give them a structure, that things can actually happen on a big scale.
Absolutely. John, you have a question for Akon? I don't know if he can hear me or his mic is unmuted. But in the meantime, I'm going to bring in Jerry Mushai, who is one of the winners of the Trace Airtel Music Star. She got a chance to hang out with Akon, and it's happening right now. Have you gotten over the excitement of really being able to speak to him?
No, I'm still very excited, but I've been practicing to keep calm, so I'm very calm right now.
You get a chance to ask another question, Jerry.
As a contestant, what exactly would you be looking for?
Well, normally not. A lot of times when I'm going to be a member of the audience. You have to look at me not as Akon, but someone that just an audience. I'm going to be an audience member. Like, an audience never really knows what they're looking for. They just know what they like and what they don't like. So the key is to figure out all the things that you're amazing at, that you're really good at, and you emphasize on those strengths. On that stage, or on that microphone, or when you're doing a basic interview, like, you have to pull out your strengths and not focus so much on your negative. And I think the main thing that a lot of artists do, they focus on their negatives. Things that they feel that they're very insecure about. And then that's what stops you from giving your best. But if you focus on all your strengths, on things that you're great at, then the audience won't see nothing but the best of who you are. And I think that's the main focus. So I'll be looking forward to seeing the best of who you are.
I can ask that question. What makes a great artist in terms of who will make it in music and who will disappear?
Well, what makes a great artist really is determined by the audience. It's not determined by the artist himself. So the beauty of this is almost like free will. And it's almost in a position where God controls your destiny, but you have to control where you're headed. You follow what I'm saying? We all have an area where we're waiting in line, waiting for that moment to enhance and really just share our gift with whoever's watching, whoever's supporting. So we have to do the best of what we can and just pray that the audience is feeling what we're delivering. So don't ever put yourself in a position to feel that maybe you didn't do your best when you did, or the audience didn't react the way you expected them to, and you're feeling some kind of down or feeling that you didn't deliver or you failed. No, that's not the case. Sometimes it takes some time for audience to get into you, get to know who you are, get a feel for what you are, what you represent, you know, where you came from. These are a lot of stories that they ask themselves when they see you for the first time. So understand, gating an audience is not at first sight. It's always time that will be building, that they will take to get to better know who you are and understand what it is that they're supporting. So it's a time process. It's not going to happen overnight. You got to convince people that you're worthy of having, you know, their support or, you know, their faithfulness, for instance. Their, you know, so ultimately, you got a lot of work to do. This is just the beginning. All we're offering you is the platform. But then from there, you have to grow with your fan and give them a reason why they deserve to be a fan of yours.
Let me bring in Jerry Wangari here. She's a poet and a blogger. You must have a question for Akon.
Yes, I had a really burning question I was going to interject because Akon, one of the things that competitions are really known for, music competition, is the money and the stardom, and that is something that gets to a lot of those who are competing, that they forget that this is supposed to be something that is long term. So what are your thoughts on that, and what are some of the things that are being put in place so that there's more long-term nurturing of talent, and those who win are still do not get sucked into the stardom? Because most musicians get lost in the you know, most of it is just an act that you need to go back to your normal life and make music, but most just get lost in that stardom. So how and I'm hoping that this is going to be part of the mentorship that you will do, because I know you've gone through that. So maybe you can take us through how you were able to cope with that and how you will help the winner be able to get beyond the stardom and really make music that will last and that they will last in the industry.
Absolutely. But just so you know, let's make it very clear. The only reason why we're in this is to gain stardom and to be rich. Do not ever get it twisted. This is called the music business. Music business. Without no music, you will make no money. Without no business, you can't support your music. So ultimately, you know, everyone has a passion for what they do. But the beauty of music is that you get paid for something you love to do. So don't ever think that the business part is not important. So that's really the motivation. A lot of people feel like the moment I become a huge star, I will make a lot of money, I can take care of my family, I can start my own label, I can sign no artists, I could be a legend. You want to think that way because that's your motivation to make it to the top. Now, when you get to the top, what you do with that success, what you do with that money, will determine your legacy. And that's where it's important. That's the part where you become human again and say, listen, I've gotten to a point where I'm very successful. I've been supported by so many people. Now it's time for me to give back to those same people that made me who I am. That's the moment when you remember that.
Okay, sorry, just to bring it back. Sorry, Larry, just
for a moment. I'll come back to you in a moment because I need to take a break for those of us who are watching online. We'll be right back on the track. You're going back into our live stream going on right now. And for those of you who are still on the live stream, I want to go back to you, and Jerry Wangari, you can pick up on what you asked me. Go ahead. Wangari, you were going to interject about something that Akon was saying.
Yes. Larry?
Yes, go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So, Akon, I come back to the question on the competition because, as I mentioned, there are those who will become celebrities overnight.
Absolutely.
To speak. And that is now what I would like you to talk about in a bit, because they have not struggled. It's not like Muthoni, who has moved from a point where she had a very small fan base and soon she has been able to grow and get a bigger fan base. These are competitors who will become celebrities overnight, and for most they lose it. We have seen a lot of competitions in the continent. I will not mention names, but we have not seen them beyond the competition, and that is really sad. And that is why I'm hoping that the Airtel Trace Music Star competition is going to be different, such that in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, those artists will still be existing.
Yeah, actually, you're absolutely right, and I sympathize with it. But I sign maybe 20, 30 artists a year, but only one will make it. So we can't It's only room for real superstars, not people that want to be, not people that dream to be, but people that are real superstars. So this is how you decipher through who's real and who's not. Prime example: when you came up, you had Jackson 5 brothers. They all had talent. They all can dance. But at the end of the day, only one became a legend. So you have to know that everybody's not going to make it. All we can do is create you an avenue and a platform, but then it's what you make that career. It's up to you to make it that. Because some people are less talented than others. But the difference between the superstar and a regular star is one works a lot harder to get there. So your work ethic is going to be the most important part of everything. It's your choice to be a star or a superstar. And for every situation, there's a sacrifice that most people aren't willing to make. That's why a lot of them don't make it to the end. But the ones that take that sacrifice to the chin, those are the ones that make it to the end.
Great.
All right, I want to bring in the Airtel Kenya marketing director right now. He's been in this hangout and he hasn't said anything else. This is your chance to also ask Akon a question.
Hi everyone.
How's
I actually won't ask a question. I just actually will bring clarity about why is Airtel in this competition.
Yes, go ahead. That's a good thing. Why is Airtel involved in this?
Well, that's a question you have to ask Trace. Trace picked Airtel and they picked me. I'm assuming Trace did their background and realized that Airtel was the best people for this situation.
Yeah. Airtel is all about.
All right. Do you want to answer that, Charles? Go ahead.
Yes, I am. So I'm saying Airtel is all about enabling success in young people's life. And there's one thing that we realize connects young people throughout the whole country and the whole continent. Irrespective of race, irrespective of age, irrespective of socio-economic background, it was music. Music was the one thing which all young people are passionate about. So we were lucky to then enter into a partnership with Trace TV, who came because we have a platform of 17 countries in Africa. We are passionate about young people. We are passionate about enabling the success. Trace TV is about making superstars. They're about music. There's a very clear common mutual benefit. Plus, they could give us the linkage with Akon. So this is why Airtel is in this whole program. We want to make our young consumers successful. Music is the one thing which breaks all barriers. Whether you're black, you're white, you're gray, you're 5 years old, music is the one thing, I think we are born, it's intuition. So we have the technology, we have the consumers, we have the Africa-wide platform. Trace TV have the linkages to the superstars, they have the platform of making the stars known. So this is why we are doing this. And the difference between this competition and the other competition is that it's a democratic music competition. So it basically means you can do it from anywhere as long as you have your Airtel line. You can audition from bed, you can audition at home if you're not feeling shy. So you have your chance to audition as many times as possible. The technology is there. We have the local judges, then you have the Kenya leg, and then the Pan-African leg. So it is something different. And I think the difference is actually the support system or the structure that this platform is going to provide. In terms of, you are going to first get, obviously, the mentorship with Akon, the record deal with Universal.
Right.
Trace are going to shoot for you a music video. They are going to air for you a music video. Yeah, so these are the
that's a good question. Listen, when we come back, Akon, I want to ask about you hanging out with President Kenyatta, because those are the pictures everybody's been talking about. We're going to come back on the air in a moment. But before that, you seem to be doing a lot of artists collaborations. I wonder if you're doing or planning any more with African artists.
Oh, I mean, right now, that's my concentration. Africa is the continent I'm concentrating on for everything that I'm doing, whether it be infrastructure, whether it be music, whether it be lifestyle. So believe me, coming this year, 2015 on forward, you're going to see a lot of things from Convict Music and Con Live for Africa itself, because we're going to build a full ecosystem for music here.
Okay. Jerry or Wangare, there's twin Jerrys here.
Yes.
So Wangare and Jerry, either of you who's got a question can go first right now.
Absolutely.
Yes, I do. A few days ago, there was a huge, this made huge news. I'm sure you know Taylor Swift. Now, she decided that her music was not going to be on Spotify. And this is because she felt that music as an art was not being valued the way that it should be. And so we are seeing that, and recently YouTube also launched their own music subscription service. So Akon, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what Taylor Swift termed as a huge experiment that new artists have been thrown into, where the technology is moving fast and suddenly artists are not getting their money's worth for the kind of music that they're making, because now suddenly the companies that are coming up with this technology want to make the music free for their subscribers. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think it depends on the artist. Me personally, my music is streamed for free for everybody. That's why I make it. I make it because I want everybody to experience it, and I want everyone to understand what I'm doing and what I'm giving. And more than anything, I think my fans have the right to have access to my music, to listen to it. So that's just my opinion. You know, Taylor may have a different opinion. You know, it depends on what your agenda is and what drives you. Me, money doesn't drive me. So ultimately, as long as I have fans that's going to support me and my music is accessible to them, money's always going to come to me, whether it's come from Spotify, whether it come from iTunes, whether it come from, you know, YouTube, where it come from Vivo. It really doesn't matter. As long as my fans are there and have access to me, I think money will always be available.
Okay. Larry, I have a question for Akon.
How's it going, buddy?
How are you?
Good, good.
Okay, I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
First of all, you mentioned that you, as an artist, Akon, you are concentrating a lot with African music and what's going on in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
How about the rest of the artists in?
Just ask me a question right now. Let's rejoin that hangout right now. John, go ahead.
Okay, my question to Akon is: you're concentrating a lot with African music and everything about Africa. How about the rest of the musicians in Hollywood? You know, you've got Asha, everybody else. What's the attitude towards Africa and African music?
Well, I mean, the way I see it, they're not really educated enough about Africa to have the, you can say, motivation to do anything here, really. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing, is to expose the talent here in Africa to the outside world, so that way they understand what's available here. Because if I could be exposed and give the impact that I've done as an African around the world, there's a million more people in Africa like me. And I'm very sure that there's thousands of other artists probably way better than I am, because I see them every day. There's a lot of artists in Africa that I'm a fan of, you know, but they just didn't have the platform and the opportunity. So ultimately, if we could provide that opportunity for those artists, there could be many more artists around the world that can represent for the continent. And this is why we're doing what we're doing.
Okay. And one more question.
Go ahead.
One more question. Akon, do you have any political ambitions? Because I've been following you a lot, and I've been seeing you've been hanging out with presidents, including our own president, just the other day. And even the last time you performed in Kenya, the fact that just before you jetted out of the country, you went to see the Prime Minister of Kenya. And looking at your Instagram pages, you've been hanging out with so many politicians. I don't know if you have any political ambitions, probably in Senegal. You might want to go home and run for office.
Hey, no, listen, that's actually a very, very, very good question, because I know I get that, and if they don't ask me, they're thinking that. But to answer your questions, I have no political ambitions whatsoever. I would never run for president. I don't ever want to be president. The things that I see that those presidents in Africa go through, I never want to have to deal with that. I'm telling you, it's a lot of work. But majority of the reasons why I always meet and stop and, you know, meet the heads of states and see them when I'm in any African country is because of the way I was brought up. You know, before you go and do business or you involve yourself in a country in a magnitude that I want to involve myself in, I always felt like, out of respect, I want to go see Big Brother and get his permission, get his guidance, get his influence, and let him know what I want to do. I'd like to alert every head of state of what I plan to do in the U.S. and what I want to bring from the U.S. into the African, you know, quarters. So I get a better sense of education from them. They teach me on what is possible in that country, what's not possible in that country, what they would advise I do, and how to go about doing it. You know, it's more so like before I do anything in anyone's home, I would want to go and see the king of the house first, get his respect to even walk in the door, take my shoes off, and it's more of a welcoming type of thing. And a lot of times, a lot of the presidents in a lot of countries also get my advice on how to deal with the youth, how to make a better, you know, environment for those guys, because we're all growing up in this thing and we're building the continent, so they can't build it without us. And we can't really move forward without their permission. So it was to create an open line of communication with all the heads of states in those countries. So that way, if there's any major ideas or anything that want to be built forward, we can be able to have that link between myself and whoever else want to do things. So I'm always pushing a better opportunity and better bills and budgets just for the youth to be able to create their own businesses, start their own entrepreneurship, because Africa is going to have to be built by the younger generation. 65% of Africa is all young generation. So if there's no programs to help them build, then Africa won't build. It's going to stand still. So these are the things that I fight for when I go to these countries. It's not really to be part of government, but it's to push government to do the things that they're supposed to do.
I have a question for you, Akon, from Twitter. Alex Omari says, what inspires you in doing great things over the years?
What inspired me of doing great things, I think it's just being human. You know, when you're in a position where you're blessed to be in a position and the people that supported you are in a bad situation, you want to get them out. Because if I don't help the people that support me, then I'm going to lose support. You know what I mean? So that's the idea. You want to be able to give back what they give to you. And that's always going to be my philosophy. You know, if they put me in a position where I can help, then honestly, I feel like I'll be cursed if I don't.
Akon, Charles here. I think very many people are interested. One of the key hooks of this competition is the mentorship. Can you give a bit of flavor? What does it mean to be mentored by Akon?
Yeah,
well, that's one of the reasons why we're trying to set up this concert in the first place, Airtel. You guys need to focus. What are we doing, Airtel? Are we going to fund the concert for Kenya or what? Come on, Airtel, listen. All of Kenya is listening. Airtel put together a huge concert for me to come out there, man. Come on, let's do it.
Come on in.
But I think it's important to just describe, what does it mean to be mentored by Akon? Do we get to hang out together?
No, absolutely.
Relationship.
Absolutely. No, but that's the key, man. And you guys made a good decision being a part of this thing, because you're right. It does create a situation where music in Africa and pretty much everywhere in the world is really a international language. Everyone can understand it. All the youth can really relate to it. And music is the one thing that would normally have you do things you wouldn't normally want to do. It's a very peaceful merge between what's out there and what's happening now. And I think, Airtel being a part of it made a great decision. So, I mean, I see why you're in your position. That's a very good choice, and you got some great points there.
Okay, let me ask you this, another question for you from Twitter. Calvin Maboki says, ask him how much he's worth, because the question is that point, do you think you made too much money and you need to stop, or do you ever get there?
Was that question geared to me?
Yes. How much are you worth?
Get closer to the mic just a little bit so I can hear you. You sound really, really far away.
He's asking how much you're worth and if you think you have enough money or you need to work even more.
Oh, Airtel is asking me how much money I want? Huh?
Answer the question. How much are you worth?
No, that's a Twitter question. How much you worth?
Nah, listen. Listen. What I do, like I told them, I'm doing this more for the people. I'm not really pretty much. As long as Airtel can create me a format and a platform where I can sell music to Africa, I'll do it for free.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the one. That's the one.
Thanks for being an African artist. They never say that.
Nah, Africa's the only place I care about right now.
Okay, I'm gonna give Jeremy one last chance to ask a question.
All right. Hi, Akon. Hi again.
Hey.
So say I win the competition, and I'm being mentored by you. Are you the kind of person we call a slave driver?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, okay, great. Then we're a great match.
That's my main philosophy. You got to put the work in. If you're not willing to work, then nothing's gonna happen. See, the idea of being an artist, you got to be able to sell it. If you can't sell it, then you can't sell. If I have a record, I gotta convince you why I think you should buy it. It's no different from what Airtel is doing now. They want subscribers. So they're asking the audience, why should you prescribe for me rather than MTN or Orange or whoever else? Why? Because we're bringing something that no one else is bringing. So you got to learn how to sell it. You have to give them a reason why they should support you. So that's the same thing with an artist. And in order to do that, you got to work very hard. You got to think of angles that no one else is thinking. You got to be at places that no one's going to be, and you got to be in front of their face constantly, every day. Whether you're in a studio, whether you're on television, whether you're on a stage, you got to always find an opportunity to get closer to your audience, and that could never stop.
Okay.
Are you, two more quick questions, please. Are you choosy about the kind of music you'd like to record?
Well, I just love what sounds amazing. I just love good music. There's no particular genre. I love good music, and even when you look at and you listen to the new album that's going to be coming out in the beginning of the year, it's wide range, but it's more African driven now. Like my music is more cultural now. When you hear it, it's going to be a lot more African sounding instruments, a lot more African sounding percussions. So I'm bringing Africa more to the forefront because now I don't really have to do the music they want me to do. I'm doing the music I want to do now.
Yeah. And have you seen anyone in Kenya that really impresses you right now? Besides Mugoni, the drama queen, who's here?
Besides you?
Besides Mugoni. Who is,
Actually, it's a list of artists that's impressing me, actually. But what I told them was I didn't want to, because what I don't want to do is praise certain artists and other artists feel a certain kind of way. So I'm going to keep that until the day you all will know who I actually really like out of Kenya. It's 3 artists specifically that I listen to all the time.
Okay, I need to do the planning shot for Akon because we're ending the televised of this segment. And your planning shot for your fans in Kenya, real quick.
I'm sorry, what was the last question?
Your parting shot for your fans in Kenya.
My what?
Okay, he's struggling to get me.
No, because you're so far away from the microphone. I just need you to get closer to the mic so I can hear you.
All right, let me just walk closer to this. I'm going to take your final comments, your final words for your fans in Kenya.
All right, now I hear you clearly. Well, of course, you guys, you know what this is. This is an opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Take advantage of it. Don't think about your contestant. Don't think about your competitor. Just think about you. Have fun doing it. And more than anything, you have to find your gift. Find out the areas where you're very good and focus on those areas. Enhance those to the level that no one can touch you in it. Don't focus on your flaws, because your flaws are always going to be there. There's no human being in the world without a flaw.
Right,
so it's okay.
In Atlanta, we'll have an entire Hangout app online. I'm sure the Google people will put it up in a moment. But in the meantime, I want to give you the winners of a black and white challenge. Immediately, so the guys will get their hands up. So you clean this up so we can see who it is they are. In the meantime, I'm going to look through. I think I like this. I'm going to give this person to somebody on Twitter because Titsy at InmoKE. She got a picture of her and her baby. So yes, you get a hand up. I'm going to favorite that. Absolutely, I like that one. Who else do we have on this? That you're gonna give. Okay, we'll announce the winners online in a moment. That's all the time we have for the first part of the trend. At 10 p.m. when we come back, we have a great show. You need to look out for that. I can't tell you what. See you at 10 p.m. In the meantime, until we can just after one night.
You can continue talking. You're off there.
Hey, Akon, can I ask you one more question?
Of course.
Have you, besides Michael Jackson, who's an amazing singer, have you worked with any hardcore, mainstream rock artists?
You said rock artists?
Yeah.
No, actually, I haven't worked with any rock artists yet, like hardcore rock. That's the one genre that I actually haven't stepped into, but I've worked with all the other artists before, but I just haven't got into hard metal rock yet.
Okay. Is it something you would consider, though?
No, absolutely. If the combination is right and the song that we're creating is to this point, I'm sure easily we could do a rock record. You know?
Yeah.
Definitely.
That would be amazing.
Akon, I had a question for you.
Yes.
Who are some of the musicians who have influenced you as you were growing up? What kind of music were you listening to?
Well, you know, I grew up listening to all kind of music, so there was never really one particular artist that influenced me more than anything. But of course, you know, I grew up listening to a lot of one-drop reggae, you know, with Black and Rue, Bob Marley, Burning Spear, you know, those type of artists. And then as I got older, then I got more into the Michael Jackson and the Lionel Richies and the Stevie Wonders. And then as I started moving around to different genres, that's when I got caught into hip-hop. And hip-hop kind of shaped everything that I've been doing up to this point, because hip-hop was driven by drums. And me coming from Africa and starting with the percussions, drums was always, you know, something that triggered me immediately. So I think that's why hip-hop was chosen as my main genre, because it's always been driven by the drums.
That's very interesting because your very first
How big
guest
now? I wonder.
was Locked Up, which has a lot of reggae influence.
Mhm.
All right.
Absolutely.
May I please jump in?
Okay.
Larry, is it okay?
Yes, yes. Go ahead. Let's have. I think John had a question. Go ahead.
Okay.
Mudhoni first. Ladies
Okay,
first.
he's being a gentleman. He's gonna let the ladies go.
That's what I'm talking about,
Okay.
John. Good job.
He's just earned himself some good points. So, Akon, I think I just wanted to say something that you said just really strongly resonated with me.
Mhm.
So, this is the first time that we're meeting. I know you because I'm a fan for years. But I'm actually I play traditional drums from one of the communities in Kenya, and that's why I'm Mudhoni the drummer because I play drums, right? And so then I sing and I rap and I play drums, and there is something so powerful about the idea of sort of tailoring music in and around a beat. This hip hop is like beats and drums is beats, right? And that's, for me, that's like the trigger point. And I just think it's so fantastic that you think this way as well. And I would love to give you the album when you come out here to Nairobi. We have a new album that's coming out.
I'll be able to connect with all you guys when we're there. So I guess once we all meet in the same thing, we'll be able to discuss all those possibilities for sure.
That would be dope. That would be dope.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, we just made a connection right there. That's awesome. Okay, John, you get to ask your question now.
Akon,
What's up, John?
I'm just interested to find out. The last time you came to Kenya to perform, it was all over the press that you actually signed a very young artist into your label.
I'm sorry, I signed a what?
A very young artist, a very young boy into your label. I don't know what happened. A Kenyan artist. I don't know if you're aware of that or it was just in the media.
Oh yeah, so yeah, I haven't signed an artist out of Kenya yet.
Okay.
Yeah, all the artists that I've signed so far has been out of Nigeria and one in Senegal.
So you've never signed any artist from Kenya?
Not yet, not yet. We're still looking.
Okay.
Not yet.
Yeah, don't worry, but it's gonna come for sure.
He found somebody on this show. He found somebody.
It's gonna happen now. It's gonna happen from this competition, clearly.
All right. I think the reason why that is because of this little boy who was at one of your concerts in Nairobi, and the report that came out of it was that you had signed him on to your label.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for making it clear now.
Larry,
Yes.
Chelsea, I just wanted Akon to reassure everyone else that even he has personal preference to Nigerians. So
Yes.
that is fair when it comes to judging, the 13 other countries which are participating in the competition.
No, absolutely. No, but I can definitely see another a few big artists coming out of Kenya. Honestly, before this competition, I didn't know Kenya had this much talent there. So I'm so glad that it happened this way.
All right, we're almost to the end of this. If anybody else has burning questions, this will be your last chance before we let Akon go.
I had a quick question, a last question. There's something that he mentioned about the crossover of African artists having more global appeal. And one of the interesting things that I've seen about mostly Nigerian artists is that they're doing a lot of collaborations with American artists. A case in point is P Square, who did a collabo with, I think it was T.I., and sorry, I'm forgetting the other artist. And what
they did Akon before T.I.
They did?
Yeah.
They had a collaboration with Akon before they had one with T.I. Chop My Money.
Yes.
Chop My Money.
You're right. You're right.
Just to give you the basic history, yeah,
Yes.
all those guys are signed to my record label. I'm the one that's making that combination because the idea is to take U.S. artists and mix them with African artists. So that way, not only do they see the familiarity in what they're doing, but also to expose the African artists to the American market.
Okay.
So that was the whole idea.
Great.
Yeah.
Great, and so, sorry, just on the same, have you seen, because of this great collaboration, and we tend to think that it's only African artists who are going to benefit, are we seeing the American artists also having a cross-wide appeal in the African market?
Well, I mean, it helps the American artists too. That's, because believe it or not, when a U.S. artist does stuff like this, it gets them closer to Africa. And a lot of these artists in the U.S. are wanting to get closer to Africa. So it makes it easier to create collaborations like that because this is an audience that they're not familiar with, but they want to get to know. So this is why I'm creating a lot of avenues to where the U.S. artists and the African artists can mash up and do records like this. So you're going to see a lot more of that in the future.
Great.
Okay, guys, I'm afraid I have to leave it there because we have to use the studio for another broadcast. I must say thank you so much to Akon for making time to be with us.
Absolutely, man.
You're an absolute great sport, and Airtel Kenya and all the vloggers and the entrance here. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.
You got it, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Take care, guys.
Nice to meet you.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.